if I was like if I ever found myself in a negative situation out of nowhere, like I didn't even see the people. Like who, like were they walking behind me? Were they just coming out of somewhere? They just saw me experiencing something negative. Like the people I find support from, like they just come out of nowhere. So so far, like nearing Club 40, I found support from people who don't really stay together. They just come out of nowhere and take care of business or address that what the issue is, resolve it, and disappear. Like I don't even know any identity of them. If I saw them again, I wouldn't even recognize them. So I want to use two stories. So, by my late 20s, I was like I never experienced any financial issues till my late 20s. Like when I exhausted my cushion money, I was like when like the age where I was supposed to find myself, enjoying a luxurious life, making the money, like not, I mean, that's when I found myself like supremely broke. Like I even mentioned it in one of my posts that the day I turned 30, I don't know, I think I had a negative balance because of no fault of my own. Like I'm a child answers to any parents. Like goody Miss Two Shoes, like following rules, and like if I was employed for someone and my employer would never because they would know like my personality, and I would never be asked to do anything wrong. Whereas enough like from bottom to top, like it's all. I wish this I mean, from education department, it's something to consider, and I really wish that personality is like one tiny topic. If any elementary age faction could learn, it would just save so like every person from so much of like trouble, anything negative, anything unfamiliar. Yeah, that would just really help. So I was gonna, I'm sorry, it's already like I always try to keep my posts short, but I know I ramble with my thoughts because the anxiety issue. So I was gonna use two references, like so I was broke, like I was probably 29, 28ish, and I was so there was this sale at Macy's at where is it? Like somewhere in the like northwest quad. Like, what's the name? That's funny. Anyway, the Macy's in DC. So there was a sale, shoe sale, and I was looking through, and this one pair was so pretty, but the heels were too high. But I was like, these are like good for only taking pictures. I could never walk like in my regular life. They were so pretty, and they were $50, and I had 30 to spare, and I was gonna I approached a salesperson to ask if by any chance that there would be any additional reduction. And the salesperson, she was like sitting in the middle, so obviously she is on the clock. She said, "Oh, I'm on break." That obviously the salesperson didn't want to help me, and I just just walk away. I'm like hoping Out of nowhere, this lady, I mean, I saw the lady checking out the shoes. Like, she was one of many other people. Like, the sale was like super, super, like, the reduction was like, like, beautiful pair of shoes for $50. And there I was broke in my late 20s. Out of nowhere, this lady, she just, says something super nice to me. Like, nothing relevant to the shoes I was holding, but something, I don't know, like, we started chatting, and she was probably like late 40s, not 50. So she was like, yeah, and then I shouted like, yeah, these shoes are so pretty, and so she was like, so what are you gonna need, like $20? So I'm like, yeah, but my budget is like 30. She handed me $20. Who does that? I'm like, oh my god. And she said to me that just put the good deed forward. I was like, so I'm like, who gives anyone $20 in the middle of a mall? Funny enough, I ended up actually gaining that $20 that day, that particular day, because like I did buy the shoes. They were like so pretty. I ended up actually doing a photo shoot a few months later. Actually, I had that photo shoot on my mind. Why I was, trying to get those shoes, and as I was like walking out, there was Steve Madden. They were also having some kind of sales. I walk into Steve Madden, and there was actually, I have a photo shoot wearing those shoes, and you're not gonna believe they were just $10. And I actually have I actually made a folio for modeling, and I was wearing those shoes in that picture, and they were just $10 from Steve Madden. And I'm like, oh my god. And then I ended up returning that other pair and getting the $10 shoes, and I was actually photographed for my model portfolio wearing $10 shoes. But these angels come out of nowhere and then just rescue you, and then they just disappear and you don't know who these people are. Yeah, I don't, so that's one. So number two, so I was trying to bike, though like I could bike on a plane level, but American landscape with plane is it's not there. So I was just trying to find a spot where I could probably go from stop 1 to stop 2. So it was my first time trying to mountain bike on a bus, like on a public bus, and the driver is supposed to help people with mounting things. It was my first time, and I was trying to figure like, what am I doing? Then it was going to be like a minute, and people the buses don't wait that long, but the driver was like sitting still and watching me trying to figure what I'm doing. Out of nowhere, this lady, it was actually at Town. So the bus line was like by the there's a pottery barn. Yeah, so the bus line was like right in front of the pottery barn. I actually noticed she was coming out of pottery barn, and I didn't realize that she was watching this thing, and she just comes in and helps me mounting the bike, and actually teaching or putting the driver or giving the so like trying. I mean, I was shaming the man like, you're not doing your job. Then I was, then unmounting, I was able to do that. But that was like my first time trying to mount a bike on a public bus, and someone out of nowhere helped. So these are the two references I wanted to use. That when like these nice people, they don't have it in them to stick together. If she was coming out of Potty Barn and she lives in the neighborhood, we didn't exchange information. She probably had kids of my age, or she wasn't that old, but I'm sure that, there would be, anyway. So what keeps the hope alive in me is these good people are like when the general tongue calls minority, it's like a non-Caucasian. In my dictionary, I call like the wholesome, warm, nurturing people, regardless of like across cultures, creed, anything. These are actually the minority. Why I decided to do this post today, like I had no, like, so I am at a place, like, I'm someone who has never been covered by a news channel, never been interviewed, never been publicized in a mainstream anything. I'll tell you this, like once I was I was sorting out some visa, like there was no issue, but there was, it ended up taking me like an entire day at a visa office. So there they were trying to help me, and they knew, the officials knew that it happened, like the issue triggered out of no fault of mine. But it ended up taking a whole day. So I ended up taking an entire day at a visa office. And there, so what to do, right? They're doing their work and I'm sitting. So there was like this table, and there was like nobody sitting there. There was like this huge, like this high pile of, I didn't know what there was. So I was like, what are these? So I saw like these are like applications for visa renewals. So I'm like, this tall? Like how many people need to renew their visas? And there I was actually because of the same reason. Man, I looked through a few. Like emails were from Harvard. Like I saw, like these were people from, like Doctors Without Borders, Physics Without Frontiers, Engineers Without Borders, these people. And, well, every application had an email address of Ivy League. And where are these people? We don't see them. They hide. They do, like, I'll tell you this. I had like 200 brothers through two brothers of mine. They were like 10 and 12 years older. So I knew if I was like walking on the street, I am watched. Like there is a friend. Like dating was so like an impossibility if I was seen with a boy. Someone will tell someone. And yeah. So it was like a very tight network. So this one person, and so a commissioning long course requirement, like academic requirement is it's still high school. Like later you can do like course. So this one friend, so he joined Navy as like straight out of high school at 18 or 19. My father joined when he was like 18-ish. So this friend of my brother, he was like, he had just come back from his like first posting. So he was on a border, like a Myanmar Bangladesh border, like Burmese border. And I remembered him, like, and I watched this boy. He was like this beautiful personality. I love these personalities. Like they, the stance, the confidence. Like I love it. Like civilians, regardless of the number in their checking account. I mean, I'm not made for those complexes. Anyway, I have the confidence. I love that similar confidence in people. So this person was, sharing like, dude, my first night on the border, I came back to the mess. I lied in my twin bed. I stared at the ceiling, and I was telling myself, no one knew what I did. I watched all night so people were not crossing into the border from Myanmar. And no one knew what I did. No one knew who I was, what my name is, how do I look, who I am. I remembered that. Like, heroes. Like, aren't they worth strutting on a ramp? They're hotter than who? Like Victoria's Secret model. I was like sitting by a fire at Gaithersburg Panera Bread, and I had no idea someone was watching me crying. I was crying by the fire. I was just crying. Like I was crying my mind out. I had no clue someone was watching because I made sure that the sofa was like facing the fireplace and nobody was watching. And I had no clue someone was watching. This nice lady, like not older, like I was 19, so she was probably somewhere in 20s, probably mid 20s. She was young. She handed me a card. She just walked up to me and handed me a card. Hi, miss. You know, we meet. We are a group. We meet on certain days at time. If you like, you're welcome to join us. And I was in such a bad emotional place. I didn't even look at the card. I just tossed it out. I mean, if it was today, I would have treasured this person. Like, I was just not in a place. Sorry, I had to include this person. So, 3 into people who keeps the hope alive that, damagers, that's nature. There is nothing stronger than nature.